Hello everyone, welcome to SAP Technomaniac. In this video, I will show you different kind of annotation we can use in the DDIC based CDS view. All the annotation one by one we will see what is the use of that and where we can use it. Let's get started. As I told you in my last video, we use annotation to give some extra information to the CDS. Till now, we have created one DDIC based CDS view. Inside this, we define only one annotation. That is basically we are giving the SQL view name for this particular CDS view. So it will create one SQL view in DDIC, our data dictionary. So we will discuss some another annotations also. There are two different kind of annotation I can say. There is a ABAP specific annotations. It will be evaluated by runtime environment of ABAP, and there is something called framework specific annotations which will be evaluated by the frameworks. Like for OData there is some of the annotations, for Fiori there is some of the annotations. Those will be evaluated by the Fiori and OData itself, OData framework itself. But some of the annotations which are ABAP specific, it will be evaluated by the ABAP runtime. So let's discuss some of the annotations. So basic annotations, one is the end user text and annotations I can say, and user text label. So basically this first annotations, why we use this annotation to give some text information, some descriptions, like in like we used to give in a SC11. Whenever we create any view or table, we have to give some description. So that description we can use these annotations and give that description here. As of now, let me activate this current CDS view, Control F3, and see what is the data in this CDS view. So for opening this particular DDIC based SQL view, either you can click on F3 or you can click on Control and click. So it will take you to this view will open in the data dictionary in SAP's GUI, because it's the data dictionary based view. So let it open. So whenever we create the view, as I told you, we give some description. So as soon as you create the table, so it will ask for the description as well. So here it initially didn't ask for the description, so we can give the description over here. So if you go and see what is the description for this, you can see there is some by default description is coming created from this particular DDL source. So this is giving. I want to change. This is not a good description. I want to give some meaningful description. So for that, what I will do, I will use this annotation to give this CDS information. What is the description of this particular CDS? So I will give, this is my first DDIC based CDS. DDIC based CDS. Let me activate it, Control F3, and let me open it again. This particular. Let me close it and open it again. If I click Control, click again, or just take the cursor on that, and you can click F3, it will take you to the DDIC based CDS view. You can check the description got changed. This is the one of the main important where basic, I can say, basic annotation we usually use. Let's go to the second annotations. So that will be under the ABAP catalog. So we have in the ABAP catalog, this is the group of annotations. In this we have so many annotations are there. So I will try to use ABAP catalog, something called preserve key. I will discuss all these annotations, but I will go one by one. Preserve key equal to true. So by default its value is a true. So what is this preserve key true and true? What we are telling the system, whenever I am defining this annotation preserve key equal to true, I am telling the system whatever I have defined in this particular CDS view key fields, that should be my key fields. If I don't tell like this, if I will not use this annotation, let me comment it out as of now. And you can see by default, let me not use this key field also. I will not use this key field, and let me activate this one, Control F3, and let me see. Let me open this again, this particular CDSU F3. You can see still the key field is the VBLN here. Why it is VBLN? I didn't define the key field as a VBLN over here, but still it is taking as a VBLN. So whenever we don't define the key field in the CDS, so it will take the keys field from the source tables. So as of now, what is our source table? VBAK. So if you open this VBAK table and see what is the key field, there is only one single key field is there, that is VBLN, apart from the mandate. Mandate is the client field. We'll discuss about the client dependent and client independent annotation as well. So first, the VBLN. So VBLN is used. You can see the lot of annotation is used in table creation also. These are some common annotations we will discuss. So here VBLN is the key field. So we don't use any key field, but still we are getting VBLN as a key field because it's coming from the source table. Now what I want to do, I don't want to make a VBLN as a key field. I want to make as a Kunnar as a key field. I don't want to display all the sales order. I just want to display one sales order per particular customer. Then how I can do? So if you do, for that I have to use this annotations, and I have to tell the system, since I want to make the Kunnar field as a key field, this should be my first key field, and I will put comma, and then let me do Control V. So now I enforcefully I told the system that you should consider the key field equal to Kunnar. Without a true, what will happen? If I will not pass true, instead of true I will pass the false. First I want to show you, if I told the system my key field is the Kunnar, but I didn't put this annotation as a true, then what will happen? First we want to see Control F3. Control F3, and let me open this F3. So you see, now we have two key fields along with the Kunnar also and VBLN also. So we told the system don't preserve the key from this particular CDS group. So what it did, this particular CDS, what it did, it took the key fields from the source table and it considered this key field as well. But that was not my requirement. My requirement was that I want to make the key field as a Kunnar, not the sales order. So for that I have to tell the system you have to use only whatever I defined key field, those key fields you have to use, no other key fields. For that I have to tell preserve key equal to true, and I have to activate this one, Control F3. And let me open this DDIC base view again. Then you can see only now customer is a key field. So like that, this particular annotation work. Let me pull all the annotation under the hood of the ABAP catalog. So for that what I have to do? I have to write @ABAP. If you want to get all the annotation, you have to just click Shift Enter. It will get you all the annotation under the ABAP catalog. So we'll discuss one by one all the annotation. The first annotation will be buffering. So you might have aware about the buffering from our DDIC based table. Whenever we create in classical ABAP, we can say whenever we create the table in SE11, then we used to give the buffering. This table can be buffered at the application server or not. So basically we use buffer data. So which data which is read frequently, change rarely, and which is having the less number of records. So we can easily get, instead of hitting the database again and again, we can get the data from the application server itself, and it will be faster. So for that purpose, we use buffering. So CDS view also we can buffer. So for that, using the buffering for the particular CDS, we have this annotation. So either you can do like this ABAP catalog dot buffering dot status, what is the status, or you can use this entire I can say the club of the annotations to define the all the things in for particular annotation. So first, one by one we will go. So first is the status. Okay, so there is a, in the classical ABAP also, if you go and see and open any table, there is a three things. Either you want to buffer this particular table, or you don't want to buffer that particular table, or you want buffering is there but for this particular table as of now inactive. So those kind of things are there. So same way we have the something called the status annotations. If you click on control space, then there is a three thing. The buffering is active, means whenever you access this particular CDS, the data will be fetched from the database and it will be preserved at the application server layer. So next time we can easily fetch the data from the application server itself. Second is the buffering is not allowed. We don't want to buffer this particular CDS, and we don't want to buffer the data at the application server. Whenever we will need, we will get from the database and we will get that data. For that we have to use not allowed. And third is the switched off. Buffering is allowed, you can buffer this table, but as of now we don't require, it is currently switched off, means it is not, we know currently it is for some of the, this option is useful. Usually ABAP SAP gives us option that even the table is a buffer table, but you don't want to buffer that table currently, so you can just select the switched off, means that particular unnecessary data, because we are not using that, even the table is buffered, we don't use frequently for the specific client, so they can go and just switch off this particular buffering, so data will be not stored at application server and the resources will be saved. So these are the things. So as of now I don't want to switched off annotation and the not allowed. So currently switched off, sorry, I don't want to, this is not buffer table, I want to do the switched off, means it will be there is no buffering at all. Okay, second is the buffering type. So there is a, in ABAP also we have three buffering type. You want to buffer this table fully, or you want to buffer, or you want to only buffer single record, or you want to buffer the generic buffering code based on the key fields. I want to buffer till 2 key fields or 3 key fields, like that, that is called the generic buffer. So that kind of buffering type we can define here. Either you want to entirely buffer the CDS view, or you don't want to buffer at all, then you have to use none. And the single record buffer means you are getting, if single record, that records only will be buffered, other record should not be buffered. And generic buffer means if you have 4-5 key fields, you want to buffer till 3 key fields, and the 3 key field combination data, whatever it is, that you have to get in the application server, not all the key fields and not all the data from the table. So that is generic buffer. So as of now I don't need the buffering, so type is done. And the key field, whenever you define the generic buffer, you have to define the number of key field also, till what number of key field you want to define. Suppose you have the 6 key fields in the table or 5 key fields in the table, so you can define this 1 to 4 any number till this key field you want to buffer whenever you get data from the database. This is the buffering buffering annotation, I can say. So this thing and our ABAP dictionary thing almost similar. There is no much difference, but some of the points are there. I just want to tell you. So what all are the points I can say? So whenever you do buffering, so I wrote it down. It cannot contain any another view or table function. So if you are using buffering in your particular CDS view, this CDS view should not contain any other CDS view or any database, classical database view, or table functions. We will discuss in upcoming video these CDS table functions also. It should not contain any of these things, then only we can buffer the table. These are the some of the important point. And the view with the parameter, the CDS view we can create with the parameter as well. Those also will be not buffered. That also we will discuss in our upcoming video. Key field should not have null values. These are the some prerequisites are there whenever you are buffering the table. Now go to the next annotation. There is something called database hint. So as I told in my last videos, the CDS are not specific to the HANA database. CDS can be created in any database. If your system is 7.4 and support package 5 and above, we can create from support package 3, but most of the things supported from the support package 5 and onwards. You can create the CDS view in any database. It's not specific to HANA HANA. So that is the reason we have something called database hint. If you click on control space, for which database you are using particular CDS view, you are using for the DB2, DB4, DB6 or HANA database or SQL database or Oracle database, you can select any database. That is database specific hint. If you remember, you might have used database specific hint to select the particular index. Sometimes what happens whenever we execute any select statement, we want this select should take the secondary index and get the data faster, but it was not happening. So we are giving the database specific hint. You have to use this particular key. That time we use the database specific hint, but in the HANA it got absolute because we don't require now database specific hint. And but still, if you are using the CDS views in some other databases, so that is the reason this database specific hint is there. Suppose I am using for Oracle, I can use the database specific I can use the database system, and what hint you want to give, that you can specify here. So as of now I don't want to give any hint, so let me delete it. View enhancement category. So you can see in the view enhancement category we have given some square bracket. What this means, we can pass in this multiple values with comma separate. It's like an array thing. So let me close. This is not required now. So CDS, whenever the SAP develop the standard CDS, they give us option to extend those CDS view. So we can create extended CDS view along with our basic CDS view. We will discuss how to extend this particular CDS in upcoming videos. So but before going that, so that for extending any CDS view, this particular annotation ABAP catalog dot view enhancement category is very important. So there is couple of values. If I click on control space, there are 4 values: none, projection list, union and group by. So none is very simple. You can't extend this particular CDS view. That's a very simple. If the view enhancement category is none, sometimes we try to extend particular CDS view and we are not able to do, and we simply state why we are not allowing. That might be reason that view enhancement category is a none. That is the reason we are not able to extend this particular standard CDS view. Second is the projection list. Projection list, what we are telling, the projection list means that whatever the select list we are using, the field number of field of list, if the view enhancement category is given like this, only the projection list, what that means, you can add some of the more fields in particular this, but you can extend the CDS view and you can add some of the more field, or if you want to add the associations or you want to add some more table, that also you can do. Association we will discuss again in upcoming video. It's very simple. It's like join only, but join on demand. So you can add more table in the joins, simply I can say. So that can be if the view enhancement category is a projection list. If you go again, I can add one more fields. If the view along with the projection list, we can use group by also. Suppose by CDS view contain the aggregated functions like sum, max, minimum, that we can use like we usually use in our select open SQL statement, which I have already discussed in my previous videos. So like that we can use here as well. I will create for CDS specific these all the things also, but simple thing, it is the what we are doing here is simple select statement only. Basically in this simple select we can do aggregation, we can do union, we can use all the functions as well. Whatever we can do on OpenSQL, here also we can do. But if it is our function, this particular CDS is aggregated there, where we have used some max minimum kind of functions and we have group by statement, then if only the view enhancement category is projection list, then we can't enhance that particular CDS view. For that, it's mandatory to we should have this group by in the view enhancement category. If it is there, then only we can enhance that particular CDS view. We can add non-aggregated field, aggregated field, or we can add even in the group by some of the field as well. If the prerequisite is that the view enhancement category should contain this group by value. Then last but very important also, again I say union. So this union also is like if our CDS view is containing some union, then in that case, if this union is not specified, then we can't enhance this our particular, or we can't extend our CDS view. For extending CDS, those contain unions, this particular value should be there, and union always used along with the projection list. We can't use union, group by and projection list all together, but union can be used with the projection list, and which CDS which contain the union, that can be enhanced using the view enhancement category. This enhancement category is simple to our if you see in our SE11 also, whenever we create the table, that there is something called if we go to extra and we have some view enhancement category, there also it is there. It can be enhanced with only the character fields or numerical field, character and numerical field, or deep entity. Like that we can enhance. Same kind of thing is there, but some terminologies are different. We have to understand this also. This SQL view name we have used already, so not required here. I can remove from here. And preserve key also we have used already, so this also we can remove. Then this is something called the compiler filter is true. There are some of the whenever we create the CDS view, basics means DDIC based CDS view using the template, this some of the end user text, SQL view name, preserve key, and this last but not least the compiler filter equal to true. These come by default whenever we create any DDIC based CDS view. So what this is mean, compiler filter true means when we create the associations, that time we use the on the on condition, we are using the multiple conditions, and we can call the CDS view another CDS view. There also we have defined the same on conditions. So in that case, same condition is there in different places, which is ideally not required. So if we make compiler filter equal to true, if we have the multiple filter conditions, that will be evaluated only one time. It will be not evaluated multiple times. So that is the reason we have to tell the compiler filter equal to true, that we are telling the system if there is a unnecessary multiple conditions which we put unknowingly multiple times, so it should be evaluated only once. That time we have to put compiler filter equal to true. If it is a false, then it will be evaluated multiple times. That is not required. So basically by default SAP whenever we create the CDS view, it is given as a true, preserve key as a given as a true, and some other basic enhancement which come to the template. If I come here, let me what all are the annotations come when we create the define view. So if you go define view, so these are the some annotations are there. These are the by default annotations. You can see SQL view name, which is mandatory one, compiler filter true. This I just now explained that it should not evaluated filter condition multiple time, and the preserve key equal to true, that also I have explained. Something called authority check yet to explain. I will explain this also. And these are the by default coming from the template whenever we create the new CDS DDIC based CDS view. So let me delete it. First let me explain this whole thing, then I will and that important thing, authority related, also I will explain. Data maintenance. So you can see we have the last annotation in ABAP catalog, that is called data maintenance. So this is similar to when we create a table in SE11, we have to give the data maintenance is allowed with the restriction or not allowed, that kind of thing. So if you see the values of this particular annotations, so there is a 4 values. First is allowed, display only, not allowed, and restricted. So we'll go not allowed, means you can't display this particular DDIC based web view. For example, this from this CDS view, there will be one SQL view will be created. That SQL view will be not displayed using the SE16, and or we will not able to display that one. Let me check. First, let me give not allowed and Control F3, and just go to this particular CDS view, Control C, Alt F8 to open any T code. Let me go to SE16 and let it open parallelly. Let me give this particular CDS view name SQL DDIC based SQL view, and let me try to access. You cannot display this particular kind of view because we have maintenance, data maintenance. Not allowed means it will be not displayed. No display is not allowed at all here. But there is something called allowed and allowed with restrictions. Display allowed and display allowed with display only, it is there. Let me activate this one, Control F3. Let me open again this SE16 and slash and SE16 and let me try to open this one and enter. So now you can see that display only, the data maintenance is display only. If you execute, you can see the data. And something called restricted, there is so in this case also you can not allowed means you will be not, and restricted means you can display but with some restrictions, and last is allowed. But if you try to allowed means you can edit also. Data maintenance allowed means edit also here data. But in this case, we are getting the error. This annotation we can't use, allowed annotation we can't use for the CDS view. You don't want to change the data using this one because this is the view, not the table. So we can't use as allowed. So as of now, by default, it is restricted. So like that, these annotations are used to define that particular view can be displayed, or if it is displayed we can maintain their data or not, and if it is displayed there is some restrictions or not. Like that we can use the data maintenance annotation for this purpose. For authority check also we have one more annotation that we have already seen in our template. There is by default one annotation coming, access control. Control dot authority check something. Okay, this is authority check. So basically this annotation, what it will do, it will check that you have access to this particular CDS or not. So how it will check? For that we have to define DCL, data control language. I already explained the DCL. This is used for to define for particular CDS what if you have that particular CDS access or not. So for define how you can define the DCL, you have to write over your data definition language and you have to create new access control. So there you can define who can access this particular CDS or not. You can define the roles and the things, other things as well. So we can create DCL in some other video as well. But if it is defined for the particular CDS, we define the DCL and we are accessing particular CDS in our select query, that time it will check implicitly you have the authority or not to get data from the CDS, and based on that it will return the size abasi. Second thing, and it will display if we have written the check over here and we have used in select statement that particular CDS view, we have called this as a data source we have used in our select statement, and we didn't create a DCL, or we created DCL and we didn't define the roles. In that case, what will happen, it will give us a syntax warning like that you have that particular authority check, but the roles are not defined there, like that. For handling that kind of scenario, we can use something like that. If we don't define initially role, we will define later. In that case, we can use the not allowed, something called not allowed. It work is the same as the check. It will check implicitly authority check, but it will not give us whenever we use this particular CDSU in our SQL query, or we can in the select statement, it will not give us the warning that the roles are not defined or DCL is not defined for this particular CDSU. It works same as a check only, check not required. So in this case, I will use not required. And the third is not allowed. Not allowed means even you define DCL or not define DCL, it's not matter. If you have used not allowed means there will be no authority check performed whenever you access this particular CDS view. And last thing, the privilege only. It is again means it will be defined by the something called SADL framework, where it will check further that you have access to particular CDSU or not. It's used most of the time in RESTful ABAP programming, not in our ABAP. RESTful ABAP programming, it's advanced level things. I never used as of now, so I can tell this much only about the privilege only. So most of the time we use check, not allowed, and not required. So in this case, since I didn't define DCL, so I will use not required. Now we will discuss the last annotation, client handling. For client handling, we have the annotation called client handling type and client handling algorithm. So what is the client handling type? There is the three value. One is the client independent, second is client dependent, third is inherited. So client dependent and client independent, we already know. If we have the multiple tables, all tables are we can define as all tables are client dependent, then we can define as a client dependent, and one of the table itself is client independent and other tables are client dependent. Still we can define the type is client dependent, but there as soon as one table is client dependent, we can't define the type as a client independent. It will give us an error because we have one table which is client dependent and we are telling that the client handling type should be client independent. So at least one table should be there client dependent to have this type as a client dependent, and all the tables should be client independent to have this type as a client independent. There's these two things. And third thing is a inherited. For the inherited, it will be derived from the source tables. If we are using multiple tables and one of the table is client dependent, then it will automatically become client handling type is the client dependent. And if all the tables are client independent, then it will automatically become the client independent, the client handling type. Now this we have defined client dependent and client independent. So I hope so client dependent and independent you already know. If something data is belong to the one client only, that is called client dependent. If that particular data source is belong to multiple clients, the data is stored in multiple clients, then it is called client independent data source or client independent table. We use mandate field in the table to define the particular table is a client dependent or not. And there is something called algorithm. Algorithm means once you define the client dependent type, how it should be handled. One is the automated and session variable. It is for the either we can use along with the inherited or we can use with client dependent. Sorry, if our table if type is a client dependent or inherited, then we can use either automated or session variable. What it will do, how the client dependency will be handled when we use multiple table. Automated means whenever we use own condition, then automatically it will add the client in the own condition to compare the clients. Even though we didn't define the client handling implicitly, explicitly, it will happen implicitly automatically when we execute that. We will get the data from the CDS. That time that client field will be inserted in the on conditions and then we will get the data. So it will handle automatically. None means it will it will be used always with the client independent data only. There is something called the session variables. But suppose we have two tables, one is a client dependent and one is a client independent table. If we are getting the data from that table, normal, if both are client dependent, then no issue. The where condition, on condition will be added with the mandate and it will work. But one of the table is client independent and another table is client dependent, then it is very difficult to aid the on condition. That time, when we defined as a automated, what system will do, it will make a cross join with T000 table. T000 table is having all the client and get all the client, then it will put the where condition based on the mandate. And if we have used the session variable, so instead of doing the cross join with the T000 table, what it will do for doing the implicit client handling, it will use the session variable called mandate client to do this implicit client handling. So it will be much complicated, I know, but basically what I want to tell, if we have the client dependent table, if it is handled automatically, it will automatically add the where condition and we no need to worry. And we have to use, if we are using the client dependent and independent table along with, then we have to use this session variable as the algorithm instead of using automated, because it will be faster than the automated, because we are using the session variable called client to get the client. So if you don't know about the session variable, let me go to some of the session variables. Let me define first session variable as the algorithm as a session variable, and let me get some of the session variable. Dollar to get the session variable, we have to use session. Okay, I think I did something wrong here. Okay, got it. Control Z, not here. I have to use here. These are the field list. Oh, okay, so I will use the session variable over here. Dollar session, control space, you will give this keyword will come. If you do control space, there is something value is client, as a syst client I can display. So this particular session variable will be used implicitly in the on conditions. So like that, I can display normally also the session variable in use in our select statement. Not only this, I have other session variables also. Some of them I want to display, like system date I want to display. Let me display the system date is syst date. I have to give some alias name. Like that, some other value also we can display, like system, what is the system language, what is the user date, like that other detail also we can display. Let me display one more thing, system language. Or let me activate this CDS view, control F3, and let me display out this particular CDS view. There is an error. What is the error? We have to see the error. Let me see the error. Length of the names list not same as a, okay, got it. So I have used the name list here to define this one particular what can be the name in the output. As I told you in my last video, not required. You have to display all the three. I have to again write the system date, system client, system lang, like that. No need to, I don't want to display name list. Let me activate, try to activate without the name list. Control F3. Now I don't have any error. Let me display this data, how it got displayed. F9, F8, sorry. So you can say this data got displayed here. Along with these two data, the system client, system date, and system language also displayed. So like that, these are the basic annotations we can use in our day-to-day uses of the CDS, DDIC-based CDS specifically. In this video, we have learned about all the annotations which we can use DDIC-based CDS view. In next video, we will see what is the difference between the DDIC-based CDS view and normal defined view entity. there is something called the defined view and defined view entity. What is the difference and why SAP came up with something called defined view entity instead of defined view? So for the knowledge purpose, whatever we are doing here using the defined view, it got already obsolete. Now something called defined view entity we have to use instead of defined view. That we will see in my next video. Before going to that video, please like this video, subscribe this channel, and whatever you are feeling about these videos, please write it down in comment section. With that, thank you and happy learning.